Just so excited to be here today. Everybody that knows me, I have a couple tables of my friends and mentors here today that have been with me through the last 6 years of my life. Everybody that knows me knows that Mondays is my day. It's a new shot at a new day. It's a fresh start at a new week. So how fitting that this morning's chat would be this morning on a Monday morning. I know that you all made a sacrifice to be here today. You got up early, you got out of bed, you went the extra mile, and my message today is a message of hope and a message of sacrifice that I've made and a message of sacrifice that people in my life have made to get me to where I'm at today. So my story begins in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, where I was born, to my mom, Helen, my sister, Mandy, and my dad, Richard. My mom and dad got a divorce when I was 2 years old. My dad left my mom for another woman, and my mom and my sister and I packed up and we moved back here to Washington, where my mom was from. She's one of seven, and she wanted to move back here so we could have some support by her family. We lived in a 400 square foot studio apartment. My mom worked full-time, went to school full-time at the Olympic College over in Bremerton, Washington, and we shared one bed. I mean, we were in 400 square feet, and that is what we knew. My mom sacrificed to provide for me and my sister, her time and her efforts. She's an amazing woman, and I'm so thankful for her. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to about the age of 5. I started going back to Nebraska to visit my dad, and it was a whole nother lifestyle there. My dad, I went from a 400 square foot studio apartment to a several thousand square foot 7-bedroom home that my dad built. My dad and stepmom made a ton of money, and we probably had the biggest house in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, so totally different lifestyle change. When I was a kid, I didn't really know any difference. We had everything we wanted, boats, we went to the lake. But my dad and my stepmom worked a ton, and they were both busy 6 days a week working, and I was left at home with my sister and my 2 older stepbrothers that were 7 and 10 years older than me, and they were supposed to be taking care of us, and they did about everything but that. They physically tortured me, they verbally beat me down, they sexually abused me and my sister, and I didn't talk about that till about 5 years ago. I never opened up about that. And me and my sister actually had a conversation, and I was just heartbroken to know that it was going on with her as well. To grow up without a father figure in my life was not easy. My mom there to support us was so huge for me, and at the age of 6, all I really knew was sports. I started playing soccer, baseball, football. I was an athlete. That was kind of my outlet where I got to be free. I played sports all through elementary school and junior high. When I was in 9th grade, I got in a super bad car accident. I got hit by a car on my BMX bike that was going 70 miles per hour. And it put me in intensive care. I probably should have died that time. I didn't, thank God. And it was a long recovery. And that spring, I decided to go out and try out for the baseball team when I tore all my tendons in my throwing arm for baseball. And I probably shouldn't have went out, but I went out because I wanted to play sports so bad again, and I didn't make the team that year. And that was the year that I chose drugs and alcohol to take over my life. I chose the path of self-destruction all through my teens, graduated high school, all through my 20s. I managed to rack up 4 DUIs over the years. Been arrested 20 to 25 times. I lost count. I've seen the inside of a lot of jails. And I just lived that self-destructive lifestyle for a long time. And that's how I thought you lived. On September 22nd, 2010, I was at the lowest point of my life. I had lost my first wife, I lost my car, my job. My best friend passed away of a drug overdose. and I was in this house at 2 in the morning, and I looked in the mirror. I had my shirt off, and my arms were completely black and blue from the heroin needles, and I was strung out on heroin. I looked in the mirror and I cried, and I just got on my knees and I prayed. And I had been to treatment 6 times, inpatient, outpatient, before that, and I got on my knees and I prayed, and I woke up the next morning, and I used to have my heroin needles loaded next to my bed to get out of bed in the morning to shoot up. And I woke up and I had no desire for drugs that morning, and I grabbed everything. I threw it in the garbage. I grabbed my cell phone, shut them off, and I knew that part of my life was done. God delivered me from addiction that day. I've never craved drugs or alcohol since September 22nd, 2010, and I'm so grateful for that. Since then, I've managed to get an amazing job. I now work hard. I work 60-ish hours a week, 6 days a week, most week, downtown Puyallup at Cornforth Campbell Body Shop. I currently race Ironman triathlons, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a one-day event. It's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and a 26-mile run. And most people just think I'm crazy, but that's what I love to do. And I invest in others. I invest in youth. I believe in people. Mentorship is the only reason why I'm here today. There's an amazing man sitting right over at this table. His name's Mark Johnson. Mark, can you raise your hand real quick? The truth is, most people want to be successful. They just don't know how, especially people that were in the position that I was in. So I looked to Mark. Mark saw me through my drug addiction. He stood by me for 10 years. He never wavered. He's a man that I'll be forever grateful. He's one of the top real estate agents in the state. He's an amazing father. He's an amazing friend. He's involved in his community. He loves people. And he would call me in my darkest times, and he didn't care. He just wanted to check on me because he loved me and he believed in me and knew that I was going to come out on top. Mark introduced me to Kurt, sitting across from him. Kurt, can you raise your hand real quick? That's my buddy right there. Mark brought me down to Kurt's shop about 5 years ago. I didn't know anything about cars. I was in a whole nother line of work for 10 years. And I went down to Kurt's shop, and I remember sitting in the break room and looking over at Kurt, and he's asked me some questions, and I'm telling him about my story, and I'm like, yeah, this I'm off the streets on heroin. This guy's not going to want to hire me. And we went out into the shop, and I remember on the frame rack, there was this black, brand new Buick LaCrosse, and he walks up to it, and he looks at the car, and he looks at me, and he says, do you know the difference between a quarter panel and a fender? And I kind of looked at the car, and I looked at Kurt, I looked at the car, and I just shook my head no, and I'm thinking in my head, great, this guy thinks I'm an idiot. And he looks at me and he says, perfect, you're hired, when can you start? He said, I want to train somebody that doesn't know anything about cars so I can teach them my way so they can be running my shop in 5 years. And I've been there for this April 1st, I'll have been there for 5 years, and I'm Kurt's shop manager, and I'll be forever grateful for Kurt. Another mentor of mine sitting right here, Eddie Dizon. Mark actually connected Eddie and I about 5 years ago. And I remember the first time I met with Eddie at Starbucks on Canyon Road. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I was living a lifestyle that I wanted to change, and I needed to listen to other people because my way got me to jail and institutions so many times that I needed to change. I had to do something different. And I remember Eddie and I would meet 2-3 times a week for a couple years, and I couldn't even tell you the last day that went by where I didn't at least shoot a text to Eddie or him shoot a text to me. I'm constantly still in communication with him. He believed in me. I remember about a year ago, Eddie told me that when he first started mentoring me, that there were so many people that came to him and said, dude, this guy's a loser. You don't want to waste your time on this guy. You don't want to invest in this guy. He's just going to go back out and party again. Well, Eddie didn't believe that. Eddie believed in me and believed that those people were wrong. It's men like Eddie in my life that has made sacrifices and believed in me. You have to make sacrifice to be a leader. I wake up 7 days a week at 5 a.m. I don't have to be to my shop until 7:30, but I get there at 6:30 every day because I want my day set up for success. I want to work hard. I encourage kids, children, youth. I mentor at the alternative high school in Puyallup, and I encourage kids to get an education, but I also encourage kids to work hard. The word grind is my favorite word. Everybody that knows me knows that I say grind all the time, and the definition of grind is to do something repeatedly over and over again until you attain a goal. And I want to grind every day, the rest of my life, all day long, because I want to live that lifestyle, and I want to promote that lifestyle and be that leader for kids and youth and the community and schools programs and everybody around me, whether they're younger or older, because that's what I want to do. I lived that other lifestyle for so long. I've OD'd. I should have been dead 10 times over, but God's kept me here for a reason, and that's to give back and to invest in people. I have one more good friend of mine sitting right over here, Cameron. Cam, can you raise your hand real quick? Cameron is my buddy. He's my boy. He's a kid that I've mentored for the last 3 years. And I was on a jog one day with a buddy of mine from CrossFit, who's his brother-in-law, Cassidy Steed, who introduced Cameron and I was training Cassidy to run a marathon, and I started sharing my story while we were running across the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. And Cassidy said, "Hey man, would you mind going to Pierce County? My brother-in-law got in some trouble and he's in jail right now." Well, Cameron got in a high-speed shootout with the cops. He got grazed by a bullet. He shouldn't be here today. It was crazy. And I went in there and I talked to Cameron. Cameron's mom was the first female police chief in Tacoma, and his dad is a prosecuting attorney. Cameron was raised in a good home. He just made some decisions in his 20s that got him in a lot of trouble and a lot of felonies. He was supposed to do 10 years in prison. He only ended up doing a couple years, but Cameron and I kept in communication the entire time he was in Pierce County. I would go there every other Sunday until he got transferred to the state penitentiary, because I saw something in Cameron. I saw a fire in him. I believed in him, and I wanted to be there for him like all these guys were here for me. And when Cameron got out of prison about a year ago, he stayed with me for 6 weeks. He rode his bike to work every single day. He worked 10, 11, 12-hour days, and he would ride home. And he finally got his own apartment, and he was detailing cars at the Fife Auto Spa. And now Cameron's currently managing the Fife Auto Spa and a couple other small businesses. He's just killing life, and I'm so proud of Cameron. I would write to him a lot about running and marathons and Ironmans when he was in prison, and he ran his first half marathon in prison. And he got out and started running marathons and races. And his first triathlon last summer, he qualified for U.S. Nationals, which is in Nebraska this August. I'm so excited that I'll get to be there watching him cross the finish line on that. But the bottom line is I believe in Cameron, and I believe in people. When you believe in yourself and you start believing in others, you'll make a difference. There's no question. I want to leave you guys with one last thing. I want you guys to think about this. Write it down, put it up here. But who do you want to be, and how do you want to impact today? Who do you want to be, and how do you want to impact? That's my word for the day. It takes sacrifice. I thank you all for being here. Thanks for letting me share.